Hello friends, welcome to the Technical Point channel. This is Santosh Kumar. Today we will learn about how to create a Spring Boot microservice and how to deploy it in Kubernetes cluster. So first of all, we will create a microservice, and there will be one API only. Just keep it simple, and then we will run it, and then we will dockerize it, and then we will uh, deploy it in Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so firstly we will create microservice. Okay, so for this, first of all, we'll go to the Spring initializer. So this is the URL start.spring.io, and here we will create the microservice project. So first of all, we will select the Java language, and then we will select the Maven tool for building, and here 3.2.0, and we will add the dependencies like wait, uh, that's it. Let's keep it simple, and here Java version I have installed Java 17, so that's why it is we are using Java 17. Here we will use uh, microservice, uh, as for example employee service. Okay, then let's generate Java, Maven, Spring Web, and employee service. Okay, so for the sake of simplicity, we will create one API only, and now it's loading. Let's Yeah, now loading has completed. So first of all, we will go to the project employee service, and here we will rename uh, rename as YAML. YML. Then we will define the port 9006. Okay, By default, generally port tom by default generally Tomcat uses 8080 port, but if there are multiple microservice, then there will be conflict between port. So therefore, we can define our own customized port. Okay. Uh, then we will create a controller rest request mapping. Slash employee. So just we want to create only one API. So uh, first of all, we have created employee controller, and also here we have mentioned that REST controller. So if we mention that at the rate REST controller, that it will work as a this class will work as a controller as well as REST. Okay, and if we provide the at the rate request mapping, then this will be the context path. Okay, for this controller, for this API, and then we can write string get employee. So here we have created one API only, imp name, and we are passing the and we are passing the name. So whatever the name we will pass to this imp name and slash name, then the get employee info method will be called, and then we will get the get the name using path variable, and then we get the variable whatever the input request has come, and then we get the input, and then we are appending this name to the whatever welcome to the Java with Spring Boot. So it will be appended to the result, and we are returning the result. That's it. Just we don't want to complex it, and just we are keeping it simple, and we are keep it simple, and then we will returning the result. So let's try to it's working out now. Just check it and let's run it. And also if we using the at the rate Spring Boot application, so it is the main class and in Spring Boot. So it will be the entry point. So whenever uh, means, we use the at the rate Spring Boot application, then it will automatically configure the whatever the base package, what are the dependencies, and it will be injected all the dependencies. Okay, so it will auto scan and auto configure. So it's telling that port is something already in use. Okay, we can change that port. Seven. So that's why we are calling, we have defined here the port. So suppose it can be possible that in another application is using the same port. So that's why we can change the port from application.yaml. Syntax is server colon port. Okay. So now the Tomcat had started on port number 9007. Let's try it. And here the employee the context path for this API and imp name. So colon 9009 slash employee slash imp name slash as for example technical point. Yeah, so whatever the name we it will be giving the output. Like here we write the like uh, docker, then it will give the output as docker. So suppose we are using the java, so java is appended to the result. So now it's fine, I think. And let's move to the ahead. So here we are using the IntelliJ. So that's why from IntelliJ we have run it. But suppose if we want to run it from outside of the project, like from not any editor, like generally you can use any editor. I am using the IntelliJ idea, but if you can use any editor like Eclipse or other editor also. But also if you want to run this project, this microservice from any out, like from console or from terminal, then uh, and uh, and then we can use that another syntax. And also creating uh, the jar, and also for the running the jar, and suppose we have used it, we have run it from Eclipse or IntelliJ, but we have to deploy it in my Kubernetes cluster, and also we can run it from outside this project we want to run it. So for this jar should be created. So for creating the jar, we have to build it. Okay. So for building, we have to use mvn clean install. So if we use this build tool Maven, and if we use this command, then it will be built and jar will be generated in which will be generated in the target folder. This is the target of the this project folder, and then we can it will generate the jar, and it will be the executable jar, and we can embed it. We can run it from Java jar or something, and then also now, we can create the Docker image also. So build has been successful, and now we can run it from mvn spring spring dashboard colon run. So it's showing that Tomcat has just started, and it is running from the terminal. We are using in my system Linux is there, means Ubuntu I have installed. So we are using the terminal. But if you are using the Windows, then you can use the command prompt. Okay, so we can you can run the command like spring maven mvn clean install and mvn spring boot dash colon run. uh, that's this command. Then like this ambient clean install or any this building and running command, you can run it in windows and on command prompt, and then the project will be run from outside the any editor. Okay, so it's running now. Let's run it again. Like it's running fine. Okay, now like suppose if we are using Docker, so it is giving the output as Docker. Here if we want the next whatever the name Santosh, my name is Santosh. So whatever I have passed, it is printed. So everything is fine. Okay, so now this part is over. Microservices is created and it is successfully built. Okay, now we want to Dockerize it. So for this Dockerizing, first of all, um, I have created Minikube. Sorry, I have already installed Minikube in my local system, and it is used for Kubernetes cluster, and we can use that. So we are starting the Minikube in my system, and then after starting, we can it will give the environment. Minikube will give the environment of Kubernetes cluster, and then we can run any commands of the Kubernetes like kubectl command. This is the mainly CLI, and whatever the command of Kubernetes cluster, we can use it in my system. Okay. So let's wait for that. It is processing. So you can also use any in your system. If suppose you are using uh, any operating system, then you can do any Kubernetes cluster, or mini cube also you can use it. For Windows you can use something uh, tool by from this that tool you can uh, install. Means, if you google it, then you can check that which tool you can run, which tool can provide the mini queue. So, and even if you are using uh, like macOS, then in that macOS also mini-queue is working. For just for I think Windows, it can be something more operation you have to do that. You can do that, or I can, if you want, I will explain for Windows also. Okay. So mini queue has been set up, and if we want, suppose Docker images, suppose if you want the command Docker images, Docker, it is showing that Docker images. But and also if we are one like kubectl uh, get pods, okay, this pods is created already. Okay, so all the commands are all the all the pods, it has been created, correct. So suppose all the pods it will shown. So whatever the commands of the Kubernetes, we can use it using minikube. Just I want to explain like this. Okay. So first thing, for using the local system, the first thing I want to tell you, like if we want to use the local images, uh, whatever we have created in my system, then uh, we have to inform to the minikube that we have to. Hello friends, welcome to the Technical Point channel. This is Santosh Kumar. So in the previous video we have learned about how to create a microservice and how to create an API. We have created only one API, which is a imp name slash name, and then we have run it. So now we will have to deploy it in Kubernetes cluster, and then uh, see the output. So first of all, we will have to dockerize this. So we have already built and done it. As you've seen, we have seen that this is the output. Suppose we are passing some another parameter like Java and our like Kubernetes, we have seen that whatever the parameter we have passed, it is giving the output. Now we will have to dockerize it. For dockerizing, we will have to we will have to include Docker file. I'm explaining. 1 minute. I'm explaining. 1 minute. So we have already created a Docker file. So first of all, suppose if we have created a microservice, okay, employee service is created and jar is created also. So it is running runnable jar. This jar is runnable. So if we want to deploy in Kubernetes cluster, then first of all we have to create a Docker file, and uh, means a Docker file, Docker image. And first of all, we will, for creating the Docker image, we will have to create a Docker file, and in this Docker file, whatever the instructions, like uh, how to what is the uh, sorry what is the base image. So here will have to provide the base image. So this base image will provide that like what is the base OS like Linux or other, and what is the environment for running this Java, running the Java application. And then we will wrap it, and with a work directory as we will define slash app, and then we will copy the current target current target jar, as you have seen that employee service dash 0.0.1 dash snapshot dot jar. We will have to copy this runnable jar in here and just creating a new jar. Okay, so and then now it will point to this employee service dot jar, and we will exposing. So whatever, suppose this application will start, then on which port it should be started. Okay, this microservice, which port. So we have defined that 9007, and entry point is this. So when the image will be created, and Docker image will be created, and then it will be after this image we will container will be created. Then when the we will run the when we will run the container, then it will point to, first of all, go to this entry point java jar and employee service dot jar. From here the container will started and start running, and then our like server will be start and application will start. Okay, so so for defining that instructions, like how to deploy the how to sorry how to run the jar from this image, like from this that container. And then because image Docker image just like template. And first of all, I will let you know, Docker image is just like template. As for example, there is a employee class, okay, class only. But when we create a Docker container, then then it will become the runnable. Okay, so just like it is an instance is created. So similar way, Docker container is runnable instance, and Docker image is just template. Okay, blueprint, you can say that. So for creating a Docker image, we have to use that this syntax, like this syntax, whatever the instructions we have provided, we have to uh, provide the base image, and this base image will download from Docker Hub, and from this Docker Hub or any other else whatever the we will provide in the setting. So this base image has the runnable Java, runnable environment for Java. Okay, and then we will wrap it. So this Docker file is created. Now we will have to create the Docker image, and then we will create the Docker container, and we will create the pod. So generally not required, but whenever required, sometimes we can use one pod contains multiple containers, and or we can have only one container in one pod. One pod is the smallest unit. So this is the smallest unit. I will explain more. Okay. So first of all, we will build the image, Docker image. Okay. So first of all, we will have to terminal, go to the terminal and control C. Okay, after that, first of all, then we will go to here. I will explain more. So here, first of all, we will have to go to so it all everything is fine, and now we will go from terminal. Sorry. Uh, so here we will have to dockerize it. So create the Docker image. So for this we will have to do docker build dash t employee service colon v1 dot. This is the syntax: docker build dash t employee service colon. So docker build and dash t for tag name, and employee service is the name, and we can provide the version number. So version of v1 we are providing, and this is dot means current directory. So it will check that from it will start building the current directory, and then starting the build will be started, and with it will create the tag as employee service and v1 as the version number. Okay. So now we will enter. So first of all, it will try to download the Docker image uh, from Docker Hub. Okay, by default. So first Docker image will be created. It is downloading. I have seen that Docker image has been created and downloaded something, and then it will copy. It had copied whatever the instructions we have provided, and also now the Docker image is created. You can see that Docker images. This image is created, but we have already minikube installed in my system. So minikube is started or not, we can check that minikube status. So it shows that in minikube already in started in my system, and then we can go ahead for Kubernetes cluster information, like whatever we want to use in Kubernetes, from Kubernetes, like kubectl or creating pods, creating services, deployments, etc. Whatever operations we want to use in Kubernetes cluster, we can do from Municube. Okay, so one more things I want to let you know that, like first of all, suppose Minikube cluster is already installed and it is already started, but we have to inform that we have the local image like employee service, and we have the local image employee service, and we want like Minikube should uh, take image, or they can get the image, local image from my local system. Okay, not from download from outside like Docker Hub directly. If I'm explaining 1 minute. So this, when we run this command, that command eval dollar minikube space docker dash env, so whatever the docker images are there in local system, minikube will understand and they will take that for deployment or creating services or anything. It will take that. Okay, no, it will not download from, it will by default it will not try to download from directly from Docker Hub. It will if that image is like imply service is in a local environment, then it will pick up this from at the time of deployment of the services or deployment of the like application. Then it will check that whether this image is already there in local system. If it is there, then it will try to download from here. Okay, so now if we use that docker images, then if you see that this image is already there. It is not picked, then we have to again do that. We have, because we have provided the information eval, now then we will have to build, and then it will show that it will check that employee service should be in, means it is already, it can be pickable by minikube. Okay, so for this we will have to do again. If we provide this image docker images, now it got it. Okay, and here if you provide the command docker images, then it gives the repository name and tag name, image id, and created 4 seconds ago, and what is the size. Okay, now we can provide the deployable, we can deploy it. Okay, for deployment of this employee service in Kubernetes cluster, suppose employee. So I have already installed VS Code, Visual Studio Code, and so we have already installed extensions also, VS Code and extensions also for Kubernetes, and whatever they required for Docker or Kubernetes extensions for giving the something hint how for give and for creating the template for a development deployment of Kubernetes deployment or Kubernetes service. Then we can we can use this, and it will by if we write enter this, then it will provide the uh, basic syntax, basic template. So we can do that. So first of all, it will deployment. This is the template for deployment, and here we can use that. What is the metadata? So we can use that. Uh, Suppose we are employee app, and here we can provide the name employee service. Okay, employee service. Here also 1 minute. I'm first of all I'm writing, and then I will explain you better in more. Okay, employee service. Here we will have to provide the employee service. Copy and column given. And for the sake of simplicity, let's remove this. And port is 9007. No normal container do not have the source string. This put star color. Say that. Service. So first of all, so this is the container port. Okay, and suppose this is the deployment. In the deployment we have created the employee deployment. Okay, and then employee deployment, uh, we have to provide the API version app slash v1, kind is deployment, metadata. So metadata we have provided employee dash app specification. Then there is a specification comes, and we have to provide the selector. So we have provided the selector app colon employees dash service, and we have provided the label employee service, and specification also inside, and inside specification we have provided the container. Container is like employee service. Okay, and then we have provided the image, whatever the image we have to which for deployment it requires the image. So which image should be deployed. So we have already created the image, this image employee service, and it is the v1. Okay, v1 is the tag, so it will check that tag. Okay, and then we have to provide the ports, and by default here the ports is container port is 9007. Okay, so by default this when we created the deployment, by default this service will be so any port we can provide, but generally we can provide the whatever the which port on this application should be deployed. Okay, now we will provide the service. So service, for service, creating Kubernetes service. Okay, here we will have to provide the employee service. Employee service. Employee service, and here also we provided the employee service. Here we provide the port 9007. Here also we have provided the 9007. Okay. So here when we use the service, when we for deployment, there are two components we have to require. First requirement is deployment file, and another is service. So I have created one file only, and in that one file uh, so we have provided two parts: service and deployment. So service deployment, I have already explained that we have to provide the deployment metadata, specification, selectors, and labels, and also the container information. And for service also, we have to provide the service kindly service, API version, and metadata. Metadata is employee service, and selector we have provided employee service. So for just to make sure that employee service, this app selector should be same as here this selector in the deployment. And also target port should also be the same as the this container port. Okay, so now the service is created, and service is created. So just these two we have the employment and service we have provided, and now we will deploy it. Okay, for deployment, first of all we will have to go to this folder. Okay, so this folder uh, we can go to this. Check, 1 minute. Documents, documents deployment. CD documents, project, Kubernetes, Kubernetes deployment, provide the ls. So here already whatever the file we have created, it will show employee dash deployment dot yaml. Okay, so cat, if you see that employee deployment file, it is showing that this file is created, and it is already whatever the information we have provided, it is created. And suppose if we want for running this deployment, we have a kubectl commands like kubectl. Okay, this is the CLI. Okay, this, see, if you provide the, if you write this kubectl and enter, then it will show that whatever the information, whatever the commands for ctl, it will show that. Okay, so now for the apply and for deployment for this information, deployment of employee service and also service also. So both in one file. So deployment is required for deployment file is required. So now we will deploy it. Okay, so deploying we have to command kubectl. This file name is like f and employee, kubectl apply, kubectl apply. If we provide the apply and employee deployment, so if kubectl apply is applied for applied for whatever the deployment we have provided in the information in the employee deployment file, and it is the f4 file. Okay, file and this is the name. Okay, so if you provide that this information, it will be applied and deployment will be applied, and then deployment will be created. So let's do this. So if we see that deployment of employee app in deployment is created and also service is also created. So for checking that whether what is done, so first of all we can create that, we can query like kubectl get all. We can do that also, get pods also, but if we provide the get all, then it will show all information like what is the pod name, what is the service name, what is the deployment, what is the replica set is running. Okay, so here also if it is showing that it is running the pod, this it implies imply pod is running, and also implies service is also running. This running is uh, 9007 TCP. Okay, but it is showing that cluster IP. Okay, cluster IP is by default implies when we provide the service cluster IP. Cluster IP will be by default, but when we use the cluster IP, it can this service cannot be accessed from outside. Okay, so first to access this service from outside, then we will have to use node port. Okay, this node port. So let's copy this and here provide that type column node port. Okay, so if we provide that type, type is node port, then here, yeah, node port, then this service will be accessible from outside. So suppose if our deployment has been created, and then it will call to the service, and from this service it will call to the deployment, this deployment here. So if we provide the node port type, then it will be accessible from outside, and then it will call to this deployment. Okay, so I am first of all we will have to delete the this deployment, Kubernetes deployment kubectl delete dash f employee delete, and then again if we have saved it or not saved it, we can save it. Okay, and then again we have to do this deployment deleted, this is in deployment and service is deleted. Now we have to apply again. So apply again, we have to do deployment again. So this we have, yeah, so this service is created already, deployment is created, service is created. Now we will provide that kubectl get all. So here it is showing that pod is created and service employee. Okay, here it is node port, and it will node port means here this service can be accessible from outside. Okay, so in the previous it is cluster IP. It was the service we have provided the cluster IP, and it is not be accessible. And here also only 9007. But here if we provide the node port, then it will provide it that provided that it can be accessible from outside and outside the cluster. Okay, so anybody can access this service. Okay, and this is the this port is accessible from outside also. So for running this application, this employee service, we have 30173. This on this port it will be exposed from outside. So to run this we have to go to postman and we will run it. So first of all we will have to go to that, we will have to see that what is the my what is IP of my cluster, Kubernetes cluster. So we will have to check that this is the cluster IP, my cluster IP. So 192.168. So we will have to copy this, copy copied here, and from here to here copied, and this is the my cluster IP, and it means request will come to this IP, and here 30173. So 30173, here we will provide the 30173, and here what is the context path? Context path is employee imp name, employee and imp name and name, imp name and name is like Java, we will provide that. Okay, so this is the cluster IP, my Kubernetes cluster IP. This is the port which is exposed from output outside. 1 minute. Sorry for disturbance. Now this is the IP, and this is the port, this is the context path of employees controller, and then this is the imp name, URI. Okay, and we have provided the Java. Now we will hit it. Yeah, let's see the output. This is the output, welcome to the Java, and this is the response. This is the same response, whatever the response we have provided, like this only. Here we are using we were calling this API from local, but now here we are calling only from Kubernetes cluster, like we are our request will come to the Kubernetes cluster, and this it will giving the response from Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so this is done. So suppose if you want to change again, like Docker, so again it is giving the same output, like similar output. Just we have provided what is the dynamic part is that only the name, whatever the provided dynamic part is name, whatever provided in the parameter. Here we can like hello. So whatever the information we provided, it will be appended in the output. Okay, so so it is working fine, everything is fine. So now I am revising you what we have done it. So first of all we have created a employee service, and in that employee service we have created the one API like employee controller, and we have created one employee controller, and then we have provided the one API imp name slash name. It is giving providing the name, whatever the providing the parameter, it will be appended, and it will be appended in the result, and it will give the result. And then when the API will be created, then we will have to build it. For building, first of all we will have to create mvn clean install. Okay, mvn clean install we have provided, and after mvn clean install it will build create it will build, and then it will generate the target jar, like whatever the jar is there, it will be provided in the target folder. And then when we if we want to run it locally, we can use that mvn spring dash boot colon run. Okay, so this we have tested it. Okay, for locally, But if we want to deploy this application, our employee service application in Kubernetes cluster, then we will have to dockerize it. For dockerizing, what we have done, first of all, we have created the Docker file, and then in Docker file we have provided the whatever the information instruction we have provided, like this image, we have wrapped it in app directory, and we have copied this employee service from target folder to create to the new service new jar, and then we have provided the exposing the port, whatever the port we want to run it, and entry point also java jar employee service dot jar. Okay, and also after that, when it is docker file is created, then we have built it. So for building, whatever we have done, uh, for building we have done it like yeah, for building we have done docker build dash t employee service colon v1, and docker build is for build the image, and t is for tagging name. What is the tag name? Employee service colon v1 will be version number, and this dot is the current directory. So we can show that whatever the directory we have to provide it in current directory, it can be built. And then we have to create the deployment file like two file we have to create it. But for the sake of simplicity, I have created deployment as well as service in the same file only. So we have created this deployment, and deployment of employee service, and also we have created the service. Okay, and we have provided the node port. For the node port is for accessing this service from outside of the cluster. Okay, and then also we have mentioned that there will be in the deployment there is a selector will be employee service and match level. So this selector should be same as the selector of the service in employee service. Okay, and also the target port, this target port should be same as 907, should be same as the container port. Okay, so when the request will come to this cluster, and then it will come to the service, then first of all it will come to the service, and from this service this will be check that, okay, what is the target port, this is the target port, and what is the selector, this is the selector. So it will call to this here and deployment, and then the application will be running, and it will be accessible access to the URI. Okay, API, it will call the API. Okay, so if any confusion you can ask me. uh, so I am done. If we can meet in next video, and if you like my video, please like and subscribe. Okay, for if you will do this, then I will get the more motivation to create the new video. Okay, thank you very much.